So I got good news and I got bad news. The bad news is that video that I was talking about in the last video that I was working on, it didn't really work out. That was a bit of a failure. So the good news is Fan Showdown Season 4, Episode 9. So I know I've been going pretty hard in the paint on the Fan Showdown. I hope you don't mind. To all of you out there that watch these videos or send in your fan design, thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. You really did save my bacon this time, given what I was working on didn't work. First up, we have Alexander and his creation, The Greatest Fan. Alexander said that this design came to him after spending 2 days in a hotel room, being stuck in there, and binge watching the Fan Showdown, which I do appreciate. But after those 2 days, he was trying to get some sleep, and this design just came to him, and he was not able to fall asleep until he got up and created it. Now, Alexander didn't really give me much backstory onto the inspiration of this fan, and on the Fan Showdown Reddit, many of you said it looked kind of like an ice shaver. However, when I first saw it, the first thing that came to my mind was a wind vane, or specifically those little wind cups, you know what I'm talking about? Spinning around? Yeah, I think it looks like that. I don't know how well it's gonna perform, but the design is pretty unique in the fact that it's basically a fan that's not really a fan. Next up, we have a combination fan that I think you're all gonna really enjoy. There's two main types of fans that we see on this series. We see axial fans and we see radial fans. Well, this one's one that Martin sat down. You know, Martin sat down to design a fan, and he couldn't decide if he wanted to go axial or radial. So we said, why not both? This is the washing machine, and as you can see, it is what would happen if you took a radial fan and an axial fan and smashed them together with the force of 1,000 suns. You would get something like this. Now, the idea here is that the axial fan in the center will be, will do the heavy lifting, and the radial fan along the outside, its job is to take all that air in from around the outside and kind of bring it into the middle, feeding that main fan. Now, I love this design. I know that a lot of you out there really like squirrel cage type fans or radial fans like this, but as we know from seeing fans like this in the past and how they normally operate, normally they bring air in from the center and fling it outwards. So having that type of fan around the outside, hopefully bringing air in, I'm not sure how well that's gonna work. Now, it does look that the blades have been designed in a way that they are angled in the proper direction, they slope forward. So there is a chance, but we'll have to just wait and see what it looks like in the smoke test. Another thing, the blades on the main fan are extremely thin. We're talking like one layer. They did print really pretty good. I had to be pretty careful removing the support material not to crack anything, but I did notice that when they're like, you can essentially see right through them. They're translucent, which is pretty different from what we normally see. I don't think we've seen any blades this thin in quite a while, if ever. Next up, we have the sipping tea guy and his fan, the RAH-66 Comanche. Now, I found this one very interesting for two reasons. The first one being that it's the inspiration behind this fan was the RAH-66 Comanche. And if you don't know what the RAH-66 Comanche was, it was born from a US Army program called the Light Helicopter Experimental Program that existed in the 80s. Now, the idea behind this program was to replace the AH-1 Cobra and the OH-58 Kiowa with this new helicopter that would kind of fill both roles and incorporate stealth technology. The program eventually became the Light Helicopter Program, which Boeing Sikorsky eventually won with their design that was designated the RAH-66 Comanche. And although the Comanche flew, I think the first flight of the Comanche, I believe, was like 1996, which is forever ago. But I still think that design still looks futuristic to this day when compared to like the AH-64, Apache and stuff we're still flying now. The Comanche looks like it's, actually newer, but it's very old. However, it was not meant to be, as the US Army in 2004 terminated the program, stating that there was just too many upgrades that need to be made to the AH-64 or AH-66 Comanche in order to make it capable of surviving on the battlefield in the face of current and upcoming anti-aircraft threats. All is not lost. Two airframes that still exist, and they're on display at the United States Army Aviation Museum in Fort Rucker, Alabama. I'm gonna have to go see them one day. Didn't actually know that they were on display, but sounds cool next time I'm in Alabama. Now, the second reason I think that this fan is very interesting is because of the blade angle chosen for this fan. There's none. The AH-66 Comanche's blades are basically parallel with the fan plane. which means that any airflow, if we see any airflow, that comes out of this fan is directly related to the geometry of the blades alone. There's no pitch. It's just the design themselves, which is something I don't think we've actually seen. Now last up is one fan that's main goal in life is to take down the cheater. And this one, mark my words, might have a chance. This is the Unswirler, and it was created by Dominic. Dominic said the inspiration behind this fan was a multi-stage turbine. Now multi-stage, or just turbines in general, steam turbines, have been used for all kinds of stuff throughout history, from trains to ships. Most commonly they're used to drive generators and power plants. And fun fact, did you know that if you take a steam turbine and you connect it to a generator, it's now called a turbo generator? So these things can be like massive. We're talking 7 meters in diameter, weighing like 4,000 tons. They're huge. But back to Dominic's fan. Now all you've seen thus far is just the fan, but there's some other pieces that go along with this design. You got an intake, an exhaust, and when you combine them all onto the fan itself, you get this. With this 3-piece design, the idea here is that we're going to produce, or Dominic hopes that he's going to produce, exceptionally high-speed laminar flow, which he hopes, we all hope, will take down the cheater. No offense to the cheater, but it's time to fall. And I think he's got a shot. I mean, it's pretty similar to the cheater. It's got intake. This one has inlet guide vanes, where the cheater doesn't. It's got some nice vanes on the back here to try to straighten out the flow. This thing should do exceptional. We'll be able to tell in the smoke test. If we got a nice solid column of smoke coming out the back, we're doing good. If it's all over the place, not so good. But before we do that, let's see exactly how it sounds. The Unwhirl came in around 58.3 dBA. The Washing Machine Evolved came in around 49.3 dBA. The Greatest Fan came in around 56.2 dBA. And the RAH-66 Comanche came in around 50.7 dBA. Now the first thing I noticed when listening to all these fans was it seems like the blade clearance to these inlet guide vanes are very close. If you're listening to it, it almost sounds kind of like the noise you get out of a siren. You know, we've made one of those in the past. Also, when I was setting this up for the sound test, I just kind of happened to place my hand behind it as I was rocking on the desk, and this thing's putting out what feels like an exceptionally high volume of air. I don't know if that's true, but you know, at a pretty reasonable distance from behind the fan, I was able to feel quite a breeze. And I'm hoping that that breeze will translate in the smoke test. Now in the smoke test, the first thing we need to discuss is Martin's design on the washing machine. If you remember, I had some concerns that, you know, the air would be being thrown out from the radial fan on the side, but that was not the case. Martin did a really good job designing the blades around the edge, and it actually looks like they're functioning just as he expected. Secondly, look at that. Look at that unswirl go. I don't think Dominic could have came up with a design that produced a more focused exhaust flow if he tried. It looks about as perfect as you're gonna get. And if you look at how fast the smoke's coming in to the fan versus how fast it looks like it's coming out, I think we got a shot. I think he could pull it off. Let's see. The RAH-66 Comanche did move air, which was good. 356 feet per minute of air, to be exact. So it's on the board. The greatest fan produced 412 feet per minute, and the washing machine evolved produced 451 feet per minute of airflow. Now the unswirl. Remember, to beat the cheater, it has to output at least 769 feet per minute of airflow. The cheater produced 768. And the unswirl produced 758 feet per minute of airflow. It was so close. It was only 10 behind. But it did place this fan, the unswirl, in second place overall, with the other ones placing 28th, 31st, and 34th, respectively. Now, although the cheater still remains in first place, today Dominic proved that the cheater can bleed. You can take it down. I know somebody out there watching this right now is able to create a fan that can take down the cheater before we exit season 4 and move on to season 5. So if you want to get in on the action, make sure to head over to my Thingiverse account to grab the models and the drawings that show you, the critical dimensions you need to maintain to make sure your fan fits on the A12X24. There's some models there if you need them. And then you need to submit at least an STL file, or send me at least an STL file to thefanshowdown@gmail.com. And speaking of season 5, if you out there have one of those Noctua GPUs, let me know. I would like to buy it from you. I can't find one that's reasonably priced anywhere near me or online, and I would really like to use one of those Noctua GPUs in the next season of the Fan Showdown. So if you got one and you want to sell it, let me know. Thank you for watching. Hope you see you in the next one. Get subscribed if you want to help the channel. Bye-bye.